Sister Thakur says that we have to fight a war. This war is not like a war between two different countries, two different communities, two different military alliances. Sister Thakur says this war is against five enemies. These five enemies are death, disease, disintegration, poverty, and ignorance. Starting with this episode, over the next 5 episodes, we are going to talk about these five enemies and how we can defeat them in the war against them. Today, in this episode, let's talk about death and also understand how we can conquer the battle against death. Sister Thakur Kulchandra says, "Do never die, nor cause death, but resist death to death." What a compelling and profound statement. This statement is filled with optimism. Can we really conquer death? A devotee of Sister Thakur Kulchandra once asked Sister Thakur, "Thakur, you say, do never die. But all of us know that death is unavoidable. Death is inevitable. If death is inevitable, how can you say, do never die?" Sister Thakur Kulchandra smiled and said, "Look, the fact that death is unavoidable today does not mean it will remain unavoidable forever. There is one way death can be conquered. If science and spiritualism can come together, they can conquer death. But the way to conquer death is to understand the causes of death and know how to address those causes. So why does death take place? Why does a man die? Science tells us that a person is considered to be dead when his biological functions stop. When does the biological functions stop? Well, the biological functions stop when the man's heartbeat stops or when his brain stops functioning. In such a scenario, a person is clinically declared dead. Now let's understand why the biological functions stop, why a man's heartbeat stops, why a man's brain stops functioning. Well, one of the primary reasons why a man dies is because of aging process. Almost 2/3 of people in this world die because of aging process in their body. When a man starts aging, when the aging process starts, that person's organs become weaker. Organs are made up of tissues and cells. So in other words, when our cells and tissues get damaged in the body because of our old age, or if they become dead, the aging process gets expedited. While there are a few other causes of death, aging process is the most primary and common cause. How can we defeat death? How can we eliminate death? We can eliminate death if we can reverse the aging process. In other words, if we can slow down our aging process. If we find a way to repair our damaged cells and tissues, and if we find a way to replace our dead tissues and cells in our body, if you're capable of doing all this, we can become immortal, or at least we can live for many, many, many years. Now, this is where science and spirituality need to come together. Let's understand this a little better. If you have to slow down the aging process, there are two hormones in our body which are absolutely essential. They are oxytocin and melatonin. Oxytocin is secreted by the pituitary gland in our brain. Melatonin is secreted by the pineal gland in our brain. So what does oxytocin do? Oxytocin hormones help us slow down the aging process. They repair our damaged cells and tissues. What does melatonin do? Melatonin brings youthfulness within us. It creates enormous energy within our body. It improves or boosts our immune system. It creates antibodies within us. So these two hormones are extremely powerful. While we understand this scientifically, what is the spiritual angle here? The spiritual angle is very simple. Meditation using the holy name with deep focus and concentration under the guidance of a master or guru can do magic within us. When we practice meditation through deep concentration and focus, especially focusing on our pineal gland, we can trigger the secretion of melatonin and oxytocin hormones. Through the process of meditation, we create a vibration, and that vibration excites or activates our pineal gland, our pituitary gland, and other important glands in our brain. That's how the secretion of these hormones happens in plenty. Literally, a human being can reverse the aging process through the practice of meditation. While other practices like good living, a stress-free life, hygiene, etc. contribute to longevity of human life, the most powerful weapon is meditation, chanting the holy name. So taking this discussion to the next level within spiritual practice, let's talk about memory carrying consciousness. If you believe in rebirth, then you may want to understand more about this memory carrying consciousness. Sister Thakur Kulchandra says death is like a sleep. We call it death because we don't remember anything before death. But if we carry eternal memory, if we carry the memory of all our past lives, why should we worry about death? Death is like sleep. When you go to bed in the night and wake up in the morning, you remember everything that happened before you went to sleep. If one dies but carries all the memories of the past life into his next life, that person never feels that he was dead, because the memory of the past life or lives is still alive and fresh. It's like going to sleep and waking up, dying and being born again, going to sleep and waking up from the sleep. That's how man can become immortal. Prove this. But how can we gain this memory carrying consciousness? Most of us do not remember what happened in our past lives. Sister Thakur Kulchandra gives some very basic, simple tips. He says, do practice of writing diary every day. Write a daily journal. Recall every day before going to bed what happened during the day. Consciously recalling day after day, what happened is a powerful way to gain memory carrying consciousness. Along with this, we also need to practice meditation. When we practice meditation, we can activate our latent, inactive brain cells. But when we activate them, excite them, energize them, all the past impressions stored in our brain come alive. Our ancient seers said, life is like a journey in a train. Death is like a station. The journey doesn't stop at one station. The journey continues beyond stations. Similarly, life is an eternal journey. It doesn't stop with death. It continues beyond that. But we get scared of death because we are scared of the unknown. But if we get into the realms of the known, there is no fear of the unknown. That's the journey to immortality. Once again, I will repeat profound words of Sister Thakur Kulchandra. Do never die, nor cause death, but resist death to death. Thank you so much, my dear.